Hello, welcome to the Believe Show. Today we are here with Katie Anderson and we are speaking about learning to lead, leading to learn. Hello, Katie.
Hi, Senya. Great to be here.
So I'm going to tell the story of how we met because I think it's so wild.
Me too.
So correct me if I'm wrong or fill in with any details. So this is how Katie and I met. We both have kids that play chess. Both of Katie's kids play chess and one of my kids play chess. And the kids were in an online chess group where they were paired together. And when kids are paired together to play chess, the parents coordinate a little bit. So here I was coordinating with the parent of the person who was going to play my son. And I looked down at her signature and I see the book that she has, Learning to Lead, Leading to Learn, and that it's this Japanese thing. And then I go to her website and I see these Daruma Dolls, and I studied Japanese for a year and a half, like all of those Daruma Dolls. And I studied it for 2.5 years in college. I love Japan. I've been there several times. So I email Katie and say, hey, what's up? But I just think it's amazing that we met through our kids.
I know, me too. And actually, right before this, I was setting up my kid on some chess thing right now. So it was sort of perfect timing with our call today too. So I love it too that you actually went into my signature, and then through that we discovered we have all these shared things in common between our kids and love for Japan, being here in the San Francisco Bay Area, alma mater, and so much more. So I'm thrilled to be here today and talking with you about many things.
And especially in addition to having all those things in common, just the fact that it sort of started with the kids playing chess.
I know. It's perfect for I guess our pandemic year of how things happen. So,
That's right. Let me tell you formally a couple of things about Katie, and then we are going to ask her what I think are amazing things about some thinking that she's done in her book and in her interviews with the person that the book gets the ideas from. So let me tell you a little more formally about Katie. This is Katie's website, and Katie is a globally recognized leadership coach, consultant, and speaker. She's best known for inspiring individuals and organizations to lead with intention, through process and performance and practice. But what I really want to tell you about is her first nonfiction book, which is this, Learning to Lead, Leading to Learn. And in a moment, she'll tell us that there's a huge Kindle special on it right now. And I'll drop both links into the chat so you can see it. This book is debuted just this past summer as an international #1 new release. So I'm thrilled to have you here, Katie. Hello. And I'm delighted that we're going to be talking about all of these things.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here and talking with you about some of my favorite subjects, leading with intention, learning, and Daruma Dolls, which...
Actually, can we start with those? Can we start with Daruma Dolls? What is your fascination and love of them about?
So I have many, so I wanted to hold one up for you. So these are these paper mache dolls made in Japan, and they represent, when you have a goal, you fill in the Daruma's left eye, and then it sits there as a visual reminder of perseverance and patience, and the Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8, because these dolls are actually weighted at the bottom. So it's hard on my hand, but you can see they're like weeble wobble back up. And then when you achieve your goal, you get to fill in the right eye. And I discovered these actually when we were living in Japan. We moved there 6 years ago this month, which is incredible to think about that. So my kids were not quite 1 and almost 4 at the time. But my son's preschool class had all these Daruma dolls lined up in the room, and I thought I was intrigued by them. And then when I found out about the significance, I just became obsessed. And so you can see my Daruma collection here, and some of these ones actually I've got at the Daruma Temple in Takasaki. And this one is inscribed with my favorite word, which is intention. Shiko, which comes from we can talk more about intention later, but heart and direction. And so I have that inscribed on this Daruma. I haven't set the goal yet, but the monks actually I don't know if you can see it, there's a dot in the left eye. They put special energy into the eye there. And so I have many different Daruma dolls all throughout my room. So
how many do you think?
And I give them away to people. I actually import these mini Darumas and give them away to clients and at conferences and other things when I talk to them. So I'm obsessed, but I love them.
How many do you think you filled out personally? Filled in one eye and then gotten and filled out the second?
Oh my gosh. I mean, at least 30 probably Darumas, but you're supposed to burn them. The Japanese take them to the temple and then they burn them at the end of the year or at the beginning, actually this time of year, purifying the sign of a new year. But I'm not willing to get rid of my Darumas.
Oh, they're beautiful. I didn't know you were supposed to burn them at the end.
And this was for my book. So this is a good transition. So this is my goal, to write the book with Mr. Yoshino. So I got to fill that one in this summer.
That's really cool. That's amazing. That's super, super cool. So tell us, what does the title of your book mean?
So Learning to Lead, Leading to Learn actually wasn't the original title of the book. It was Practicing Hansei, which Hansei in Japanese means reflection. And I was trying to figure out a way. I didn't want to have a Japanese word in the title. And I had titled some of the subchapters Learning to Lead and then Leading to Learn. And this started to anchor for me about what the real essence of the book was. So Practicing Hansei, or practicing reflection, was the process of writing the book, of working with Mr. Yoshino, who was a 40-year Toyota leader, who I became friends with when we moved to Japan, and now he's one of just a very close partner of mine. And it's about, how do we create learning in ourselves and also support learning in our organization? So we all are learners and leaders. So you need to first learn to lead. And then the essence of leadership is about leading to not just support your own learning, but to support other people being better at learning. And that's how we really create an organizational culture that's of learning, of innovation, of creativity, of how we can go achieve the organization's purpose and accelerate. So it's this sort of the cycle of, we're always learning to lead, and then we're leading with the intention for learning. And so that was sort of the iteration, iteration of the title.
So it makes so much sense when you describe it, but it's also so beautiful in your book, just all of the examples of senior leaders that are teaching and allowing people to learn throughout. It's not just, hey, I've learned, I'm done. But how do you pass it on? It's
a lifetime of learning. And when I first started talking with Mr. Yoshino, when I met him in Japan, and he's fluent in English. He lived in the United States for 14 years of his career, actually here in the San Francisco Bay Area, when the GM joint venture with Toyota was in Fremont, the NUMMI plant. So he was out here for 4 years, and then in LA and in Florida as well. So language is not a problem. And I was trying to dig into, what's the secret to Toyota? It's so the company itself is renowned for its learning culture, and what has become known as lean, or in the Toyota production system, and doing more with less. And he said, there's no secret to Toyota. There's nothing special. And then later he said, well, actually, the only secret is its attitude towards learning. And so all these tools and processes and techniques, they're in service of learning and getting more effective as individuals, and then collectively as an organization. And I think that's the hard thing to replicate. You can take tools, but if it's not in service of actually learning to improve and learning to be better, then you're really not going to have the same outcomes that an organization that's focused on the original purpose and intention.
Yeah, it's kind of a big ask to say to an organization, hey, have you thought about being a learning organization? Because there's so many outcome goals that an organization needs to meet.
Yeah.
So to switch that, to have that mindset, this is key.
Totally. And what I think is an important thing is that outcomes are still important, at Toyota and these other organizations, but it's not at the expense of learning. So one of Toyota's mottos is we make people, or we develop people so that we can make cars. And so they put the people first so that we can be more effective at achieving the outcomes that we need to do. So it's not, I think we forget that. We get so outcome oriented that we lose sight of that it's people who are actually creating the outcomes.
Yeah, and if the people don't learn, what's going to happen with the outcomes?
Yes, yeah.
I've read most of your book and I love it. I'm just going to put it up one more time. Tell us about something that's happening right now on Kindle so that we know, and I've sent it out to people.
So it's super exciting. This week is not only the 6-month anniversary of the book's release in July, it's also Mr. Yoshino's birthday tomorrow. And so in honor of those two events, I'm running a 99-cent Kindle Special. So you can go, it started today, this morning, and through Thursday. So go on and you can download, for 99 cents, your own copy. Although I also encourage you to pick up the paperback too. It has some really interesting text, visuals inside there too. But 99 cents today through Thursday on Amazon.
We don't often have guests who have that special running. So I highly, I've dropped the link into the chat. So I highly, 99 cents. I mean, that's
it's a no-brainer, right?
Then see for yourself how much you like it. So I loved it. I'm going to ask you specific questions about it. But before I do, can you tell everybody your relationship with Mr. Yoshino? How did this happen? How did it happen that you sat for so many interviews and that this came out of it?
Yeah, so we actually moved to Japan for my husband's job. He works in tech, and he had an opportunity for his job to go be in charge of the Japan office. And as someone who worked in continuous improvement here in the Bay Area in healthcare organizations, and then with my consulting practice that I'd started, I was thrilled about this opportunity. And it was serendipity actually how we met. We were both at a conference 6 months before I moved to Japan. And it was literally weeks after we found out about the opportunity for us personally. And he was there on stage with this man named John Shook, who was the first American or first non-Japanese employee at Toyota, and that Mr. Yoshino was his boss. It was this coaching summit. And they were on stage talking about their role as manager and direct report. And I was so taken by Mr. Yoshino's humility and humor and wisdom. And I also I found a way to get introduced to him. I was connected with Mr. Shook as well. And I got connected with Mr. Yoshino. He said, when you move to Japan, look me up. Here's my card. And so I was, of course, thrilled by this opportunity. And I thought it was going to be a once in a lifetime experience. I made my husband take the day off of work, and we jumped on the Shinkansen, the bullet train down to Nagoya. And Mr. Yoshino picked us up in his Toyota, of course, and took us to Toyota City. And we went on a tour and spent the day talking. And we really connected on so many levels and really enjoyed it. And he said, come back anytime. And of course, carpe diem, right? And so every few months I would jump on the bullet train and go spend the entire day with Mr. Yoshino talking and spending time together. And did that for 6, 7, 8 times in the 18 months we lived in Japan. And then when we moved back to the Bay Area, to the United States, he and I continued to stay in touch. And I usually go back to Japan at least twice a year. And so we'd see each other there. He's actually this is my guest room that's been converted to my office, but he stayed at my house a few times, and this is the room he stayed in. And we've partnered together in Europe, teaching classes and talking together. And then it was about 3 years ago, I had this idea. It's like, your stories, your wisdom and learning need to get out, and let's write a book. And he's like, that's a great idea. Although, of course, I had no idea the extent of which the amount of work and what it was. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but it was a lot more work than than I anticipated. And we started with some purposeful interviews, and and it was amazing, the richness of the stories and the experiences that came out of it. And these were not just one-off interviews. Like, we were talking every 2 weeks. And some of his experiences in the book happened, how I wrote them almost is how they came out of his mouth that first time. And others were an unraveling of experiences, especially some very challenging long-term experiences that we sort of peeled back like an onion and got deeper into it. So that's where the practicing Hansei, the reflection, our relationship of doing that came in. And as I learned about his stories, I realized my original idea of how I was going to write the book, which was I thought it would be different sort of leadership topics or principles set by a chapter, and then some vignettes or stories supporting that. And I realized really his journey of learning and leading needed to be told from the beginning, because that's how we experience it in our own lives. We start off as, young, and I tell some of his personal story too, about his goal to move to the United States and how that was an anchor for him throughout much of his life. And we all have that experience of starting, and we need to first learn to lead, and then how do we begin to lead to learn? And so through success and failure, and really being honest about, it's not an easy journey, and we're all human and we make mistakes, but if we can learn from that and then share that forward, that's the power and the beauty. And so that's how the book came to be. And of course, we were publishing in last year, and then the pandemic hit. And so I had to really adjust. We had all these great plans. He was going to come to the US, and we were going to go Europe together, and had to adjust those things. But I'm so pleased that and it's heartwarming to hear how much the book has impacted so many people on a positive way, and just they feel inspired about the, just you can feel the humanity in his stories, and it really is it's really powerful, and he's just a wonderful person. So I'm just so appreciative that he's a close friend of mine now, and he's turning 77 tomorrow, which is amazing, and yeah, it's really special.
Happy birthday, Mr. Yoshino, from here at the Believe Show. Katie, it's exactly like you said. You do start off with his personal stories, and it's so delightful to hear how even the radio, that he would get access to radio, and he kind of drew a wire through the living room at night so he'd listen to it. That, and then a lot of people know about cram schools, JUCO schools, and just how he got an appreciation for American culture. So you do see those super early teen formations of, hey, I'm going to go to America one day. It's really good to see that.
Yes, and really how he persevered. I mean, it took years. It was only when he's in his 40s that he finally got to move to the United States. That it's really amazing. I know I'm the author of the book, but really, like, my interaction with Mr. Yoshino has been such a powerful experience for myself, and so inspiring to learn from him. And so I'm just honored that I've been able to help amplify his messages and his stories, and add my own contributions as well through the Hansei questions and framing of the stories. So
so I'm going to ask you about some specific things. So go to Gemba. What is that?
So Gemba is a Japanese word that means the place where something happens. So actually, if you listen to Japanese, well, I speak some Japanese. I know you speak better Japanese than I do, but like weather reporters say, I'm in the Gemba, like, showing the weather. But in the workplace, this has been meant to mean go to where the work is happening, or the place something's happening. And so go to Gemba is a tenet of the Toyota way, which means go see. Don't just stay in your office, but go see, go talk to the people who are actually doing the work, see what's actually happening, validate facts with your own eyes. Data is important, but facts and what you actually see shows so much more. And as Mr. Yoshino says, it's not just about going to see in the place something's happening. It's to validate facts. It's about to show that you care about the people doing the work, and to really hear from them and understand their current condition.
Yeah, you said it's different from managing by walking around.
Yeah, so it's not just like, hey, I'm here and I'm seeing people. It's not just it.
I'm the new leader. Hello, everyone. Yeah,
right. I mean, there can be value in that too, but there's purpose and intention around that. It's about checking on the status of people, and it's about checking on the status of the work as well, and what help people need to be successful in whatever their assignment is, or the goal they're trying to achieve, or the challenge that has been issued for them as well.
Could you tell us about your structure? I'm a big fan of what you did with the fabric structure, the vertical and the horizontal. Can you describe that a little?
Yeah, sure. And actually, it's echoed here on the cover of the book. So there is a weaving. See, these are the warp, and then the weft. So this came out later. I was talking to Mr. Yoshino, and I said, I feel like there are two threads that have run through your life. One is around like a real strong desire to have it be an international person with broad experiences, and the other is about developing people and learning. And he said, yes, and actually there's this metaphor in Japan about weaving, and the warp are the threads that are the vertical threads that are taught, that are laid down on the loom, and they sort of provide the force and the structure. And then the weft threads are the ones that are woven in between, that provide the color, the texture, the pattern. And it's but they can break, and they can be, different shapes and different things. But it's the intersection of the warp and the weft that create the fabric of our life, and in a unique pattern. And so I ended up structuring the book along that same line, about how can we use that metaphor for ourselves personally? Like, what are our warp threads, the things that anchor us in our life, almost like our North Star, that have been really core parts of who we are, and that are very important to us. And the weft threads are the things we've learned throughout the way, maybe through success and failure. There's sometimes we have to tie a knot or start a new color or a challenging period, but it's that intersection that really creates our uniqueness and of our life and our life tapestry. And so that was how I figured also a way to talk more about the personal side and then what he was learning from the professional side.
Learning is so important in your book. What surprised you? I'm always really curious when someone writes a book that you must have surprises come out throughout. What was somehow surprising to you throughout the process, or a new idea you learned about learning?
That's a great question, and I have to think a little bit. I mean, I don't know if there was any like major like surprise inherently about the concept of learning or leading. What was it was like enriched and confirmed through my experience of working with Mr. Yoshino. What did surprise me was some of his personal stories, and he did some really incredible things. And I think they've challenged me to think about for myself, like, how am I going over and beyond sort of just my role or my function to really develop other people and have other people at the heart of what I'm doing as a leader or as a coach. He has this amazing story about after he returned to Japan after 4 years here in the Bay Area, how he had a temporary role and he saw that his employees didn't have many opportunities. Most of them haven't traveled outside of even the Nagoya area, certainly hadn't been outside of Japan. And he sort of pestered the airlines and got 22 tickets donated for these young people to go have international experiences. And like, it was amazing. So that was a surprise to me, but not so much around learning, but I think it just really, really confirmed and re-emphasized for me the importance of leading from the heart, first and foremost, and that what we know is not where we need to stay. And so to not stay stuck in what we think is what we know. It's out having that mindset of always learning and being open to other ideas and experiences as well.
Yeah, and opening other people up. So now,
yes, and doing in the both.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've considered now, like the leading to learn framework it came out of that very first time I met Mr. Yoshino, and to summarize, he sort of saw his role as to set the direction, provide support, and develop himself at the same time. And if we can do those things, have clarity of where do we need to go as an organization, or where do you need to go, or your challenge person to achieve here at work, how can I help support you and develop you and give you the skills and confidence and systems to be successful? And then what do I need to do to grow and learn and develop myself to be more effective at both of those? I mean, that's to me is the essence of, if we can do those things as leaders, then we're going to be then that's success, right? So
we're in good shape. As we get to our close, and I ask the two last questions. Before I do, I just want to remind people that there's a huge sale on this book for the next 3 days. It's 99 cents on Kindle, which is just unheard of. That happens so rarely for any book. So that is very awesome, and I highly encourage you to do it. I've really enjoyed the book, and I've sent a link through the comments. Cool. What is a thought that you would like to leave our viewers with as they've been with us today?
So as we, we're in a bit of a challenging time globally with the pandemic and many things going on in our countries and everything. I want to leave you with something that I learned, and maybe this was one of my surprise learnings, that there are in Japanese, or we've translated one of the pillars of the Toyota Way as respect for people. And we often tout we need to be respectful of people and have respect. But in Japan, or in Japanese, the Toyota Way pillar of respect for people, actually, there are two different ways we can translate respect. One is I respect you because of your position or your seniority, or you're my teacher, or you're my boss. That's one type of respect. The other type of respect actually is translated to be holding precious what it means to be human. And it's really about respect for humanity and our humanness. And so I would leave that with you, that how can we think of respect not as, I have to show you respect just because of a title, but I respect you because of your humanness. I hold precious what it means to be human. And that means all of our differences and perspectives. And how do we invite those different perspectives in and along a shared journey of purpose in our organizations or for what we're doing. So hold precious what it means to be human.
That's really touching. That's really, really wonderful. We have one more question for you.
Okay.
I will pre-answer the question. The question is, if you could snap your fingers and almost everyone were to take some action, what would you want that action to be? So before you answer, just as a quick action you can take today, why don't you get Katie?
Yeah.
So a quick action, but
Yeah, that's definitely
more in depth.
definitely the quick action. I would say the quick action would be to pay attention to what comes out of your mouth. I think one of the biggest barriers to creating learning organizations is we think we're asking questions to invite people's comments, but really we're telling. So pay attention to when you're asking closed-ended questions that are really your idea with a question mark on it, and start to reframe them as what or how questions. And that has been transformational for me and so many people I've worked with, because we don't have awareness that we're often telling rather than asking and truly wanting to hear what other people are saying. So pay attention to the quality of your questions. And if you're asking a yes or no or a leading question, reframe it as what or how.
Awesome.
And buy my book.
Awesome ending. Katie Anderson, thank you so much for being with us. This has been really, really fun. Thank you.
Sonia.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. See you next time.